Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Driz, and I'm here with just a short video to give a visual example of some of the things we discussed when we're talking about probing in the forum. So let's jump right into it. First let me make sure my tools are all set up. So let's assume that Rimmon over here is our home sector. Okay? Now, since this is our home sector, and we're going to assume that it's under threat. So if it's under threat, then the main reason why we deploy probes is because it's inefficient to have a person in a scout in this sector at all times to monitor the activity. So we drop the probes in hopes that they will spot any sort of activity that the commander needs to be made aware of so the team can be ushered into the correct course of action. Now, in the thread that was talking about probing, you heard me talk, or you probably read something along the lines of me talking about bombing corridors. Bombing corridors are just straight lines. Sorry, you're gonna have to forgive that that's not a straight line. I'm doing this freehand, so it's not the best. Are straight lines in between the exit of an aleph to the entrance of the next aleph that majority of bomber pilots will take. When you're bombing, your objective is to get from point A to B as fast as possible to increase your chances of successfully destroying the base because it reduces the time that the enemies have to, get in place to mount a successful defense. So the reason why you probe along these bombing corridors is to prevent any surprise attacks. An uneyed bomb run can be absolutely devastating, and without a fast response, it can decide the course of the game, especially if the base they're bombing is in a key place, tech base, or your last remaining garrison tech base, what have you. So you'll notice that I drew these corridors fairly wide. Now the reason because of that is because EWS probes have a base scan range of 500 meters. Bombers tend to have a base signature with unloaded missiles and unloaded shields of about 200 before faction modifiers. So that 200 sig bomber will be visible by a probe that is 1,000 meters away. Now, anywhere along these lines, you can drop a probe roughly, 1K up or down, further up the z-axis, further along the y-axis, so on and so forth. As long as it's just somewhere along these general paths, you have a fairly good chance of spotting a bomber. Doing so will relay any information if we see, as a commander, if we see the probes being destroyed, we'll be able to tell you guys, hey, I need probes in this sector. It's a vulnerable sector. It's key to it's a backdoor access to our tech base. We need to have it probed up so that way they can't surprise us, they can't sneak attack and bomb us. So whenever you're going out to probe for bombers or anything like that, you want to always have this in mind. Bomber pilots want to take the shortest possible route, and you as a scout, you need to make sure that your probes are in a very good position to spot the anything that may be traveling from point A to point B, especially if it's a bomber. Another thing that we're going to touch on, let me just clear this layer out and get a new one in. Another thing that we're going to touch on is probing for miners. Now, say this is an uncontested sector somewhere in the middle of the map, nobody's claimed it yet, and the enemy wants to get aggressive. They haven't put a base in here yet, but they want to mine it out. They want to get this E3 so that we can't get access to it later. Now, you as a scout pilot, you happen across a sector like this and you're thinking, I got probes. I want to make sure that if anybody sends any miners in here, we're going to spot them out and we are going to be able to mount an offensive to take out those miners. First, you're going to have to decide where the closest enemy sector is. So let's say that down here we got, this is the enemy I need to stop doing that. It's the enemy op. So the enemy op is located in this sector over here. They're going to send their miners forward in this uncontested sector. So a good spot to probe first is anywhere along the lines behind the Aleph. And the reason why you probe behind the Aleph is scouts, or actually any craft for that matter, they exit the Aleph forward facing. Now, a scout has a scan range of 2400, whereas your probe has a signature of 30. 30% of 2400, I actually don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to quickly look on my calculator, is 720. Okay, so a scout that gets 720 meters to your probe is going to spot it. You put those probes 720 meters in front of an Aleph, this area over here, the scout's just going to fly in and spot it. The probes are useless. You put it behind the Aleph, any craft that has an object behind it has its scan range halved. So that 2400 scan range that the scout has been halved now to 1200. That's why you want to put your probes behind Aleph so that scouts just won't wander around and find them. You don't want a scout to enter into an Aleph, exit out the other side, and find all the probes that you spent 5 minutes meticulously laying out. That's just a waste of time. Put your probes, if you're gonna drop a probe on an Aleph to see the traffic coming out of the Aleph, you want to drop your probes behind it. Now, probing for miners, you got your probes behind the Aleph. Then you want to drop a probe in a roughly 800 to 1K radius around the He3 rocks so we can see when they're actually active. This lets us know if the miner is just passing through the sector or if they're actively mining out the sector. Very important. If we can see the miner on the rock, we know how much time we have to kill the miner. The veteran commanders of this game know exactly how quickly each faction's miners mine and how much time it will take for them to fully drain that rock. That's crucial for us in informing whether or not you have time to rush a miner, or if you're wasting your time and you're just going to catch the miner on the way back to when it gets to a more fortified position for them to easily defend it. So please, 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 if you're probing for enemy miners, you want to drop them in about a 500 to 1K, an 800 to 1K radius around that rock, just so we know when it's on that rock. So I'm just going to keep this short because I don't want to overwhelm you guys with too much information. And since it's my first time running the video, I want to see how you guys react to it. And I'm going to need some feedback on you guys on what I can do better and what can be changed for next time. So that's a little wrap up on probing for bombers and probing for miners. The next video, I'll cover probing for HTTs and probing for stealth bombers. They're not very common things, but you guys do need to know how to anticipate them and how to react to them. I'm also going on vacation now, so I will see you guys in a week. Cheers.